Welcome back everyone to another All Sports Culture YouTube video. And with college basketball starting only 3 weeks away from the time I'm recording this, I thought it'd be a great time to do my top 25 teams heading into the college basketball season. I'll kind of be giving a little bit of analysis on why I think this team should be ranked here. We'll be starting at 25, working our way up to 1. And then at the end, I'll kind of give who I think is going to win the whole thing, kind of give my early preseason college basketball predictions. I think this will be a good thing to do. Obviously, you guys love the March Madness content, me doing the predicting of March Madness brackets last year. Want to bring back some more college basketball content for you guys. So I thought this would be a cool thing to do. If you guys like this, I could do like a weekly series where we talk about college basketball, anything you guys want college basketball related, because obviously that's kind of what I've been doing on this YouTube channel. You guys let me know, and I'll be cool. I'll be down to make any sort of content you guys want. But preseason starting out, obviously I'll be giving my teams my top 25 teams heading into the college basketball season. We're starting at 25. We're going to stop at 1, and then I'll give my who I think is going to win it all prediction winner. So let's get started. Entertainment. So number 25, I have Tennessee. I mean, for these teams, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on, maybe like 30 seconds to a minute. They have Kennedy Chandler, who's going to be a top point guard in the league. They bring in Justin Powell, but this Tennessee team being so, underperforming last year, could that happen again this year? I think so. And obviously losing in the first round to Oregon State, I think could happen again. Them losing, them finishing the year 8-8. It's just such an unpredictable team for Tennessee. I'm not expecting much, so I have them ranked at 25. We'll see if they can get higher. Number 24, I have UNC. UNC, I love Armando Bacot. I think he was on the ACC preseason first team, and it's deserving. Caleb Love also comes into this team. I think he's capable of having a big year, but what I'm so hesitant when looking at this UNC team is Hubert Davis, and I love Hubert. I think that he was great as an assistant under Roy Williams. He can be a head coach, but I just don't know much about him to where I'm putting him ahead of UVA, FSU, and Duke in the ACC. Those guys have proven head coaches, and maybe UNC has a more talented roster than UVA, but I'm going to trust Tony Bennett, who's got it done every single regular season. So we'll talk about Virginia in a little bit, but I just don't know what I'm getting from UNC. I like the addition of Dawson Garcia. He comes from Marquette, so they have good pieces they brought in with Hubert at the helm, but so unpredictable, I'm not sure what to expect. Number 23 is Texas Tech, and I think Texas Tech is one of the more underrated teams in the country. They weren't on the AP poll, but Ken Pom had them at 14th in their rankings. They returned so many key starters like Terrence Shannon, Kevin McCullough, Marcus Santos Silva. They have a great foundation going for them, and I think a lot of people just credit this Texas Tech team because they're in a tough Big 12. Obviously, you have Baylor, you have Kansas, you have Texas. The Big 12 is very competitive. I don't think we can really discredit this Texas Tech team solely because of the conference they're in. I think they can make noise. I think they can knock off one of those elite teams in the Big 12 like Texas and Kansas and prove they're a legit team. I have them at 23, but I would not be surprised if they're higher come, middle of the season, end of the season. Number 22, I have Virginia. You look at them on a roster and paper standpoint, I don't think they're top 25, but why I'm putting them at 22 and in the top 25 is solely Tony Bennett. He has proven year in and year out that defensively they're the best in the country. Offensively, they're not going to be great, but they're just going to be good enough to where they can win games. They bring in Jaden Gardner, I think is in for a big year. Armand Franklin, I think is going to be great. I think it'd be criminal not to include this UVA team in the top 25. As much as I don't want to put him in from a roster standpoint, I know I kind of just listed Franklin and Gardner, who I think is going to have big years. But outside of that, they don't have a lot of elite talent on that squad. So I'm putting them in here, though, because of Tony Bennett. Obviously, they lost to Ohio as a 4 seed last year, and I think they can get back to a 4 or 5 seed again this year. Number 21 is St. Bonaventure. And I said don't sleep on the Bonnies, but in all seriousness, I don't think a lot of people are. Just because they're a mid-major team does not mean you need to discredit them. I think they're a Final Four sleeper. I'm going to get that out of the way. They're the best, one of the best two-way teams in the country. I think they're going to roll through the Atlantic 10. St. Bonaventure is great, and it's time they get ranked, and the AP poll ranked them, which I was super happy about. I love the Bonnies. They were one of my underrated teams heading into the tournament last year. I think they're great. Number 20, I have Florida State. I mentioned them a little bit talking about UVA and UNC. I had kind of already mentioned 3 ACC teams. We'll get into the other one way down the list. FSU is always going to be good, especially when you have Leonard Hamilton as your head coach. He's done a great job. He brought 2 guys in from the top 16 recruiting. But it's just similar to Tony Bennett. Like, defensively, they're going to be great. I trust Leonard Hamilton as head coach. He's brought them to several week 2s of the NCAA tournament, led them to the final of the ACC tournament. Obviously someone on Barstool Bench Mob, I'm going completely blank on who it was. Definitely wasn't Marty, because he's going to be praising Duke. But they thought Florida State was going to win the ACC, and I don't hate that take. I think if Duke underperforms because of, obviously, they have a super young team, if it doesn't mesh well, Florida State's in for a big year. So I like Florida State. I rank them at 20. 19, I have Auburn. Auburn's going to start off slow. I just want to say that, and it's because Alan Flanagan could be out for the start of the season. He tore his Achilles. We don't know how long he's going to be out for. But this team's going to be great, and under Bruce Pearl, who got him to a Final Four, almost got him to a national contender, I love the starting lineup that consists of Wendell Green, K.D. Johnson, Walker Kessler. Auburn is going to be very fun. They bring in Jabari Smith, who's the 6th best player in the country. From 6th best recruit, my bad. Definitely not the 6th best player in the country. Auburn is low, and I know that in the SEC preseason rankings, I believe they were 5th. Let me just say, those SEC preseason rankings were bad. Mississippi State being like 8th is just horrible. Auburn being 5, I think they're 3rd or 4th. I think I have them at 4th in here, but honestly, if you put them at 4th or 3rd, I would not hate it one bit. They're going to be great. Auburn's going to be so fun to watch. They can get it done offensively. We'll see what they can do. Number 18, I have Maryland. I'm a Maryland fan. I'm a Terps fan. Mom went to Maryland. So I want to have them higher. I think they can get higher. A lot of people are expecting big things out of this, especially bringing in Fats Russell, Qudus Wahab. I think I said that right. Probably didn't. You guys can let me know in the comments how to pronounce it. But obviously the biggest thing is we lost Aaron Wiggins. Eric Ayala is going to be the guy this year. Darren Morsell goes to Marquette. But I mean, it's just Mark Turgeon's ability to recruit, and obviously I just mentioned those guys that he brings in. Fats Russell was averaging close to 20 points per game last year. Mark Turgeon has proved he can win games, but not super important games. He always is going to drop games in the Big Ten. He doesn't do super well in the tournament, even though obviously last year we beat a UConn team that everyone thought could make a run. Obviously, they didn't. Maryland beat them, but I like Maryland this year. I'm not super high on the Terps, even though I'm a fan. We'll get into who I think is going to be far and away the best team in the Big Ten later. Number 17, I'll have Ohio State. I don't know how I feel about this Ohio State team. I think they could be sneaky because obviously they bring back E.J. Liddell, they're probably one of the best players last year. They bring in Penn State transfer Jamari Wheeler, who's going to run the point. How is he going to be? We'll see. I mean, I'm not sure how they're going to compare rest to everyone else in the country, but I do like this Ohio State team. I remember vividly last year, after I think they beat Michigan in the first game, maybe it was Michigan State, whoever they beat, and they were ranked like 4th at the time. I was like, this is a national contender team. And then obviously they were the 2 seed. They lost to Oral Roberts. I got that wrong, but I loved Ohio State last year, and I love them this year. Have them at 17, but I don't know how I feel about them. Number 16, I have Alabama. They're good. They have offensive firepower. They were a 2 seed last year. They're not just a football school, as I have it in my notes right here. Last year further proved that. And they're going to light it up with Nate Oates, who is literally Alabama's the Kansas City Chiefs of college basketball. Nate Oates is going to beat you offensively, shooting the basketball from 3. Obviously, they have Jaden Shackelford, who I think was on the first team SEC. They have JV Davison. They're going to be, again, a very solid team. I like Arkansas better. That's why they haven't been mentioned yet. We'll talk about Arkansas when we get there. But Alabama, they're going to make some noise. I'm excited about it. Number 15, I have Houston, and I love Houston. I have Memphis finishing higher than them in the conference, but Memphis versus Houston's going to be a game to watch. Get your popcorn ready. I'm super high on this Memphis team, so that's kind of why I have Memphis higher, but Houston was just a Final Four team last year. They have Kelvin Sampson as their head coach, so they can easily get back there if things come together, and I think they can. Defensively, they're on the same team as Virginia. They have Marcus Sasser, Kyler Edwards, from Texas Tech. The Cougars are going to be awesome, and in our post, I have them at 15. I'm expecting some people, I hope, to be praising that because I think they can get higher than that. Number 14, I have Arkansas. This team can score. It's insane. They had, I think, 3 guys last year average over 14 points per game, includes Stanley. How do you say his last name? Umud? Please, someone give me a fact check. Tell me in the comments section below. He was with South Dakota last year. But what I love about this Arkansas team is not this year, but next year. They have the number 2 recruiting class next year. They brought in 2 5-stars. If they can showcase this year with a pretty young squad that they're going to be a national contender next year, I'm all in on them next year. I'm serious. Like, if they can get to the Sweet 16, Elite 8 next year, and they're bringing in that much talent, who's to me to say I don't think they're going to be a Final Four natty contender next year? I'm just telling you, the Razorbacks are going to be great. They were a 3 seed this year. I was so in love with Arkansas this year, and they had a great run last year in the tournament. They're firing. They're great. Number 13, I have Illinois. It's kind of similar to Ohio State. I don't know how I feel about them. They lose Ayo Dosunmu, and I picked Illinois to win it all last year. I mean, if you guys participated in the ASC bracket challenge we did, I was one of the worst. That was bad, and solely because I picked Illinois to win it all. Losing to Loyola Chicago in the round of 32 last year was not good. But Kofi Cockburn and Andre Curbelo is what is going to be this team. They could easily be a top 5 to 10 team if things go right, but I could also see them really disappointing and falling back in the top 25. I think 13 is a good place for them right now. Don't know don't know how they're going to do. Their expectations are pretty high. Some people think they're going to win the Big Ten. I don't think that's going to happen, but we'll see about Illinois. Number 12, I have Baylor. They just came off a national championship. You got to expect them to be pretty solid, especially or even after all their production they lose. They lose Jared Butler, Davion Mitchell. But they obviously bring in guys, and they still have a solid foundation to work off of. They bring in Presbyterian transfer Adam Flagger, who I think helps us, or Flagger, however you say it, helps his team offensively. They bring in 2 top 30 recruits, Kendall Brown and Langston Love. I'm not super high on Baylor, especially after they were like the 1 seed last year. A lot of people thought, they were a natty contender to the start of the year. I don't know, though. In a Big 12, I love Kansas so much. We'll get there. I like Texas a lot. I don't think they're as good as them, and I think it's because of the production they lost, but because they won a natty last year, it'd be so silly of me not to at least have them in like the top 15. So they're at 12. Number 11, I have Kentucky. What a disappointing year for the Wildcats last year, but Coach Calipari went all in on the transfer portal, brought in a lot of quality players with the like of Severe Wheeler, Kellen Grady, Oscar, I don't know how to pronounce your last name. Please tell me in the comments, guys. One of the worst things I have is pronunciation with names. I apologize for that. Regardless, though, Ty Washington was the number 14 recruit. He comes in. He's going to round out the starting 5. C.J. Frederick from Iowa. Iowa fans hate the guy now. Kentucky's back. They're making noise in the SEC. I think a lot of people, I was reading the Barstool Bench Mob comment sections, a lot of people think Kentucky can be worse than Arkansas and Bama. I strongly disagree. I think Kentucky's back. They're going to be great, so I'm not worried about them one bit. Number 10, I have Oregon. Oregon's like a sneaky contender, and you wouldn't really think that. I think they're contenders for the Pac-12, even as high as I am on UCLA. UCLA, things could go bad. I mean, they were an 11 seed last year. Obviously, they really, really turned it up as the tournament went on, and I was one of UCLA's biggest fans, but I could see an instance where they kind of don't perform, and Oregon kind of sneaks in and takes advantage of that. I think Oregon has a 3 seed written all over them. Even though they were a 7 seed last year and beat Iowa in the second round, I think I would guarantee they get like a 3 seed. It's just a gut feeling. Dana Altman has proven as a head coach what he can do. Got into the Final Four, beat Iowa, like I mentioned. But what's so impressive is his recruiting. I mean, he brings in 3 guys who started in the tournament last year. Jacob Young from Rutgers, Quincy Guerrier, I think I said that right, from Syracuse, and Davion Harrison from Oklahoma. They bring in Nate Brittle as a top 15 prospect. They have talent. They have loads of talent on this Ducks team, and in a Pac-12, I think they have second place written all over it behind UCLA. So, love this Ducks team. Number 9, I have Duke. I was fortunate enough to just be at Duke like this past weekend. Got a good buddy who goes to Duke. I was at Countdown to Craziness, and just the environment at Duke is just bar none. It's just better than anything else in the country. But watching this team play, I would say they have so much talent. Obviously, you have Paulo Banchero. You have AJ Griffin, who's going to take a little bit of time to get off his injury, but they have loads of guys that are especially young on this team. That's going to make Duke the easy ACC favorite. They have a lot of insane out-of-conference games. It's going to be one hell of a season for this Duke team. But it's going to start off slow. I'm pretty confident in saying I don't think Duke at first is going to be good. But I am going to guarantee you they're going to win the ACC tournament. They're going to be the 1 seed, and they're going to be the team to beat coming out of the ACC for the tournament. I love Duke. Coach K, his final run. Will it be a distraction this year, kind of being the farewell tour? We'll have to see, but love Duke this year. At number 8, I have Purdue. I have a sour taste in my mouth because me and, I do the podcast with Sam. If you guys listen to our podcast, you should definitely do that. Highlight it in all sports culture podcasts. We both were high on Purdue, and it just did not work out. But Purdue, they bring back pretty much everyone. Trayvon Williams, Jaden Ivey return. They bring in Trey Kaufman, Caleb Furst. Like, they have a great team, and then Zach Edey is literally 7'4", so what? Boilermakers have some noise. I think they can win a national championship, but I think this is the year. They have to win the Natty this year. We'll see if they can win it. I don't love Purdue over Michigan. I'm going to get into Michigan later, but I think Purdue can make some noise. Number 7, I have Memphis. Here we go. Penny Hardaway has made a solid team. Amani Bates, Jalen Duran are the biggest guys to watch, but they bring in Earl Timberlake, Tyler Harris, Chandler Lawson. I mean, this is Penny's best team he's ever had, and no one can argue that at all. The Houston's really the only team in the American Conference I think you got to worry about. But other than that, I love to see if Memphis can get a 1 or 2 seed. I think they're going to get a 2 seed, as I say, as a 7 seed, and Memphis, they're legit, and they're going to bring like so much swag to them. It's going to be great. It's going to be fun. Number 6, I have Villanova. Easy pick for the Big East. UConn's the only one that challenges them, and I don't even have UConn in my top 25. I will say, though, love the Johnnies. I'll be talking about them. Hopefully, they're sneaking into the top 25 as the year goes on, and you heard it here. I love St. John's. I think they get 3rd in that conference. But yeah, Villanova's great. No other team is really challenging them, like I said, except for UConn. And they're not even in here. They bring back Colin Gillespie, who's probably the best point guard in the country. Jermaine Samuels comes back. They lost Jeremiah Robinson-Earl, who was like the thing that kept everything together for Nova. And I said it, I was one of Nova's haters last year, but Nova is just with an easy schedule, I think. I love them. They're going to be great. I'm not even worried about Villanova whatsoever, and they're going to be a 1 seed or a 2 seed come the end of the year. Number 5, I have Michigan. Here we go. I love Michigan. I think they're the easy favorite coming out of the Big Ten. Hunter Dickinson is the best big man in the country. It's not Kofi Cockburn. Let's get that argument out of the way. They bring in Devontae Jones, who averaged 20 points per game at Coastal Carolina last year. They were one play away from the Final Four. To add on to who they brought in, obviously you bring back Eli Brooks, Brandon Johns Jr., their key returners. Caleb Houston's the 8th best recruit. Juwan Howard just brought this team and made it work. And he made it work last year. He's going to make it work this year. Michigan is the team to beat. I honestly we'll talk about it. I think Michigan can win it all. I'm serious. I love this team. Texas. On paper, I think they're the second best team in the country behind Gonzaga. On paper. But we'll see how this team does under Chris Beard. Obviously, it's a huge year ahead of him. We're going to see how this talent meshes well. That's kind of the biggest thing. But, come on. Marcus Carr, Timmy Allen, Trey Mitchell, Courtney Ramsey, Andrew Jones. I'm coughing even thinking about that. That's insane. Texas is, they're going to be really good. They lost, obviously, in the first round to Abilene Christian, but this is a different Texas team. I don't think they necessarily will perform super well in the tournament, but I love Texas a lot. Number 3, we have Kansas. Kansas is, I freaking love Kansas. I literally cannot describe. I know I only have one seed difference, but I think Kansas is much better. Not even much better. That's an exaggeration. I think Kansas is better than Texas. I'm confident in placing a bet that they're going to win the Big 12. They were kind of in last year. They had the 7th seed. I believe they lost to... Who they lose as a 6th seed in the second round. I'm going completely blank.
2 hours later.
I don't know. I'm going blank. I hate myself for that. But Kansas, Remy Martin he's the guy. He averaged 20 points per game at Arizona State. David McCormack, I think that's how you say it. He's progressing very nice. Had a great tournament performance. They're loaded. And what's so cool is they play Texas on February 7th, March 5th. Mark your calendar. That's going to be awesome. Kansas, another team I think can win it all. Number 2, I have UCLA. Probably the most fun team in college basketball. I had UCLA plus 10, I think it was, against Gonzaga last year when in that Final Four game. And that was one of the best Final Four games and one of the best basketball games I've ever witnessed in my life. And we're going to get that this year. Even though it's a neutral site, I'm so excited. I am so excited for UCLA Gonzaga. The 2 best team in the country facing off against each other. You have Johnny Juzang, Jaquez Jr., Peyton Watson, the number 12 recruit in the 2021 recruiting class. Miles Johnson comes from Rutgers, primary defender. UCLA is great. They're great. And, I just fell in love with the Bruins last year. They were so fun to watch, and, it was such an underdog team. And, no one thought they could beat Gonzaga, and they played them to the wire. And I want UCLA to win it all. I got to be honest. Number 1, we have Gonzaga. Come on, Drew Timme's the best player in the country. You have Iowa State transfer Rasir Bolton, Andrew Nembhard. I said that wrong, but we all know who we're talking about because he made a noise for Gonzaga last year. They lose Corey Kispert, Jalen Suggs, but you just cannot be worried. You cannot be worried about this team. Mark Few just does a great job with his team. He kind of chokes in the national championship game. It happened twice. We'll see if it happens again this year, but I'm excited to see what they can do non-conference wise and see if they deserve the number 1 spot. They have a lot of tough games. We'll have to see. But I think Gonzaga is just easily far and away the best team in the country. And rounding out, that is my top 25. Who I think is going to win it all? I think Kansas and Michigan come to mind. I'm going to go with Michigan. I think Michigan's going to win it all. I love this Michigan team. I think Kansas, if somehow works out, they'll play them in the national championship. So we'll see. And honestly, I know you guys love like the brackets I did last year. Maybe like we just do one like every 3 weeks. We kind of just go through the bracket, even though it's way too early. We'll have fun with it. But yeah, seriously, let me know what you guys want me to do college basketball wise. I mean, I love covering it. This is one of the most exciting years, like for college basketball, in my opinion. You have Duke, who's incredible from a freshman standpoint. Texas, Kansas in the Big 12, UCLA, and Gonzaga, who's going to win it all. So many storylines and so many headlines for this college basketball season, and I hope that you all follow along for this journey. But with that, that's it. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe. We'll be back with more content. Follow us on Instagram at All Sports Culture.
Entertainment.